This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Live from all around the world and wherever you may be, I'm your host, NIKKI Colombo, and welcome to the NIKKI Colombo Show. And tonight we have a very special guest on, Kevin Estrella. Is that how you say it, sweetie?
That's how you say it.
Is that Spanish or something, or what? Where is that from? Estrella.
That's Spanish. It actually means star.
Oh, how appropriate for you. As in Starseed, huh? And
Exactly.
you know what I've also noticed, Kevin, is that a lot of us Starseeds are always inclined with music. We're always really good musicians. It has something to do with the octaves and the way that the dimensions correlate to the keyboards on the piano. And I'm just going to read out Kevin's bio while I'm here, guys. Kevin Estrella has been welcomed deep into the UFO community after having his own first-hand encounter with something not of this world. He has been a featured guest on over 40 UFO radio talk shows, 4 of which he has been on this week, guys. So Kevin is a guitarist and composer of the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars. What a great name. A combination of elements of hard rock, industrial and metal infused with lead guitar melodies inspired by violin melodies of Baroque classical composers J.S. Bach and Antonio Vivaldi. Kevin has always had a passion for UFOs and extraterrestrials. He spent over 20 years researching to understand why they are here. Kevin wanted to combine his passion of music with raising consciousness and the awareness of the UFO and extraterrestrial presence. He felt it was always his purpose in life. Oh, God, I can really resonate with that. This calling was affirmed on August 21st, 2014, when he had contact with an interdimensional craft of unearthly origin. Since then, Kevin has been experiencing many other related incidences like incredible synchronicities, music downloads, symbol downloads through dreams, and in brackets, neck illusions, DNA, double helix design on his guitar, and increased telepathy. Yeah, I know all about that. His musical downloads are discussed in UFO researcher Grant Cameron's book, Tuned In, The Paranormal World of Music. Many of Kevin's personal CE5 encounters are discussed in Inviting ET by Sue Walker. Kevin has become very involved with the Sandia wisdom on Twitter, extraterrestrials using Twitter who reside in a complex under the Sandia mountains of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He works very closely with the Sandia ETs, and Sandia has given Kevin several upgrades and downloads, and has visits from them on a weekly basis. So welcome to the show, Kevin. I'm so glad you're here, sweetie. It's awesome to talk to people who totally resonate with the Starseed, traits and everything like that. And do you want to tell the audience just how this all started for you? Did this start for you much younger when you were a child, or did this start for you in 2014 when you had that major experience? Or did you have an inkling that something was up when you were younger and then it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew?
You know, I've been able to reverse engineer my life and start to see things that happened in the past that all of a sudden made sense, 20, 30, 40 years later. It's like you look back at something and realize, oh, now I know why I was thinking why I did, or why this happened, or why I took, why I studied this in university. It never made sense until 25 years later. You have to understand, when you're an experiencer and a starseed like myself, and you do a lot of research, you start to understand that our concept of time is wrong. There's no past, present, and future. There's only the all time, and it's all connected. It's all connected. The past influences the present, the past influences the future influences the past, and the present influences the past. Everything is connected. I've talked about people. If people ever seen the movie Contact,
Yeah, I love that.
The UFOs show up when they're all hovering just above the ground, and they go up inside, and those tentacle-like beings, they communicate in a circular fashion.
Yes.
And then by the time the end of the movie comes, you don't know, if her daughter was born or died, what the timeline is. And that was the message in the movie, because that is the message that many of us experiencers, friends of mine like Nancy Tremaine, we've all gotten, is this circular timelessness where
I think you mean The Arrival.
Is it Arrival?
Yeah, The Arrival.
Arrival.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, Kev, what's happening is that we're tuning into our multidimensionality, and that's why we talk in circular. Like, we bring everything from everywhere else. I can't talk in like beginning to end much anymore. I do it on the show so people can understand what bloody hell I'm talking about. But normal, when I'm talking to my Starseed family, and like I'm talking about the ones that are on Earth and off Earth, it seems as though we can bring in, different subjects all around different areas, and then get round and back again to the original subject that we were talking about in the first place that kind of sparked it off. And I think that's to do with understanding our multidimensionality, which took me a little while to get my head around. What about you? Did you have kind of like, how does this multidimensionality kind of work? Like, did you have that experience too?
Oh God, yeah. It was right after. I'm trying to think. It was when. I'll tell the story, but it's when it was after my UFO sighting. It was almost a year later when these announcements were in the paper about the first alien cosmic exhibition in Ontario, which is the first UFO major conference with UFO researchers from all over North America. And then it was when I saw Grant Cameron's presentation, what he was talking about, and it was, when it said Grant Cameron's talking about extraterrestrials and musicians, and how extraterrestrials are contacting musicians to raise consciousness and frequency on the planet. And that was at the point where I realized, oh my God, this is all about me. I'm supposed to go and see him. It was the first time I've ever had a synchronicity of that intensity of realizing there's a huge connection here. This is what it's all about. I'm supposed to go and see him. So yeah, that was the beginning of this multidimensional breaking of paradigms, and then synchronicities just went from there, and they were constant. I finally was able to read the universe when it was speaking to me. And you pay attention to like in numbers that show up like 555, 444, 333, 1111, and there's actually the universe communicating to you, and there's actually codes to those messages when those things happen.
Absolutely, I love that. I often get asked that, and I have to send people to certain websites so they can understand or the numerology behind that, and how the 555 comes up with me a lot, because it's that's major change. The 123 I've been getting a lot lately, and I realize that it's like 1, 2, 3 steps and everything like that. But the first one is the 1111, and people who aren't awake, I ask them, especially musicians who aren't quite awake, I said, have you been seeing the 1111 numbers, while you've been in the studio recording? And they're like, oh, yeah, what's that all about? I said, wait till you start getting the numbers and they change. And then they get back to me and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, that is the $65,000 question. I've opened up the door. It's up to you to go through it now, because I've already done the work, honey pie, and I ain't going to go and do it again. It's up to you to walk through it, So, yeah, it's like, there's a big door and there's many layers, and you have to discover all that stuff yourself. Okay, so sorry, we've gone off on a tangent. Okay, let's get back to when you first started. Like, did you have any inklings when you were a little kid, and then that kind of burst open like when you were older, or did you realize that all the synchronicities all fell into place at that certain time when you're a little bit older and everything? Like, when you look back in hindsight is such a wonderful tool, isn't it? Because you can look back at it from an objective point of view and go, oh my God, that's why all this stuff is happening. So Did you have any missing time or anything like that when you were a little kid?
Not when I was a little kid. I did have missing time though in the year 2000. I did in the year 2000. But going back to when I was a little kid, the first signs that I as an adult, I look back at it and realizing, wait a second, there's something going on right there. Because when I was a kid, my favorite TV shows, we're going back to like I was born in 72, so we're talking about 74 to 75, 1975. I was 3 or 4 years old, and my favorite TV shows were like Star Trek, the original series, Lost in Space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Space 1999, Moonbase Alpha, and Koenig, and them, and there's a
I
TV
love that show. I love that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the box set. Yeah.
I don't blame you. That was one of my favorites. Now I know why I watch those shows. Because years back later, I obviously have an affinity to that. So that's what a lot of starseeds tend to draw to, and they don't realize that at the time.
Yeah, and they just I remember turning to my mom one day and said that I wanted to go to space. And she said, "Oh, you want to be an astronaut and go to the moon? Oh, how cute!" And I'm looking at her like, "No, I want to go to space. I just felt like that's where I belonged. That's where I'm supposed to be."
Yeah.
And this is like a small kid, and I was kind of upset when she made this analogy that I wanted to be a spaceman. I said, "No, I don't want to go to the moon. I want to be in space. That's where I'm supposed to be. That's where I came from." So, as a little kid, these are the thoughts that you had, and you don't understand why your mother is saying this other thing. So they kind of, they ingrain it out of you at a young age that, you're just kind of silly, and astronauts go to the moon, so that's what you want to be when you grow up. It's like, no, that's not what I meant. But anyway, so.
Well, she's thinking from a 3D point of view, and you're thinking of a starseed. I want to go home. I've been home. I come from. I'm not entirely human. I'm not. My home is not really originally from here, and of course she doesn't understand that, of course, but we do now, don't we?
We do now, and I finally explained it to her, and she's finally getting it.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, so where did you go from there? What was the next major highlight or intersection of what was going on with you? Have you always been a magician? I was going to say magician. Musician. Hey, there's not much difference between both of those words, is there? Magician. Okay. Musician. Have you always had the affinity to music as a little kid, or did that come along later?
Well, that's kind of funny because I took up guitar when I was 10 years old, and it's a funny story when people ask, because I'm I've gotten a lot better as a guitar player. But originally my mother offered my brother and I music lessons. They said you can take guitar or you can take piano. And so I said, okay, if I take piano, how long do I have to practice? You have to practice a half an hour during the week and then an hour on weekends. I'm like, okay. And if I take guitar, well, then you have to practice 15 minutes a day during the week and a half an hour on weekends. I said, I'll take guitar. And that's the reason I picked up the guitar.
Okay. Well, there must have been a reason for it, huh? You probably had those attributes in a past life before you came here, probably, and usually you bring them into this life, and you seem to have an affinity to it. And people look at you and go, you've been doing this way before you were born here. It's like, but I didn't understand how that all kind of worked. I realised, okay, I've obviously been, because I'm a musician myself, and I know that I must have been a singer in a past life, because I picked up from where I was in my past life to have such an affinity in this life. It's like I'm picking it up from where I left off in the past life, no matter where that was. So, right, okay. So you picked up the guitar, and
then it was my brother and I didn't really get serious about guitar. It was when my cousin introduced us to Rush. And then everything changed.
Okay.
We just were just floored by Rush. My brother, we watched was Grace Under Pressure tour 1984 on VHS. My brother was so enamored with Geddy Lee that he decided that day he switched over to bass, and he got a bass, and now he's like an amazing bass player. And for me, I just had to learn every single Rush tune I could. So my cousin had this big, thick book called Rush Complete, and it had all their music from their first album up to Signals, because that was their latest album at that point. And I learned every song that I could. And also at the same time, we were really into Iron Maiden. So it was Iron Maiden and Rush, and I practiced and practiced and practiced and learned all these tunes and stuff like that. And then I took guitar lessons, and then I had a great guitar teacher who taught me how to play lead guitar. But the most important thing he taught me was how to teach myself. You know, yeah.
That's a biggie in the spiritual community too. That's what I'm into, self-empowerment. Like I said to you about the door. I've already walked through the door. It's up to you to walk through the door. I'll show you where the door is, but it's up to you guys to walk through the door, because I've already done the work. And I believe in too many people tend to fall into the guru giving their power away to some person, that really disempowers you. I've learned now that it's all about self-empowerment, and if you find a really good teacher, that they will teach you about self-empowerment and to how to self-teach yourself, because it's already in there, really, isn't it? It just kind of, you need a bit of guidance for it to kind of come out. That's what I feel.
What I found is that there's so many institutions and teachers make you think in certain ways. It's like, they want you to learn theory and learn how to play this stuff and read music and stuff. And I was like, forget that stuff. I want to play like Joe Satriani. And so I needed to figure all this stuff out. So by getting transcriptions of the licks that I really, liked, I would learn these different licks and stuff. But then I would apply theory, because the cool thing is that my dad's a musician. My dad plays trumpet. He's always played in jazz bands all his life. I grew up listening to like his jazz albums, like Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, and
that's like my mum, Herb Alpert, Rise. I heard that song over and over and over again. Oh my God, okay.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Old vinyl records back in the 70s.
Oh God, they're funny, aren't they? 33. Did you ever put them on fast and make them go really fast? You had the 33 and the 44. I did.
No, I don't think I ever did that. No, I didn't really play around too much with the settings.
I did. I used to put Billy Idol on White Wedding, and he'd be going, "It's a nice day for a white wedding." Ow, 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 ow. I'd be sitting there pissing myself laughing this cool guy that's supposed to be all cool, and I'm making him sound like the Chipmunks. But anyway, okay, I'm getting off on another tangent again. Here I go again. All right, cool. Those vinyl records, aren't they amazing? Okay, they're really valuable today. Now I know that everything's gone digital. So, okay.
Well, I've grown a huge appreciation for it, because my dad had his record collection. He didn't have a record player for the last 20 years. We all chipped in, got him a really, really good quality turntable, and then we start putting on his these old albums, Herb Alpert again, and Count Basie, and I can't believe how like the recording quality is. Like, it sounds like the band is in the other room. It's completely different recording style. It's so warm and resonant. It's so different than digital, and I was just blown away. And then he even actually was over Christmas this last year. We were listening to Herb Alpert Tijuana Brass, and it's all instrumental. And I started to hear how much of an influence actually that music had at a subconscious level for me, because I'm thinking, yeah, I would have wrote that song. I would have wrote a lick. I would have wrote a melody like what he's doing right now, and I would have developed the same way what I would do it right now. And I just found it amazing how I come full circle 47 years later to what I was listening to when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow, that is a really cool point that you brought up. That old vinyl records have got more of an raw, authentic, real feel to them compared to, say, for lack of a better term, cold digital music that's done in a digital way. Like, I've noticed myself when I've had older musicians that have come up when I was using digital music for gigs and stuff like that, they couldn't really sink in, because if they made a mistake with a live band, you can improvise with that. But when it comes to digital music, there's just no room for any mistakes. And once you've lost that rhythmic beat, you are screwed. So I was caught in between both that live stuff and working with tracks as well. And then some of the corporate gigs I did, I would have to use tracks as well as live music, because people's listening, they're so used to hearing the richness and the fullness of digital sound now that when you go to something that's kind of raw, especially in a really big room, it's hard to fill up, and they kind of go, well, it doesn't kind of sound good. It's like, well, that's natural and real. And so we had to, you know, compromise and use backing tracks as well as playing live music on top so that we could satisfy the client today. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's get down into we've got about 6 minutes until the next break. So do you want to get into the next stage and we'll pick it up on?
The next stage is basically, you know, I get to high school, and it was grade 10, and my buddy Mike Rose, we were sitting in homeroom class, and he had his tape player there, and he had these tapes of Joe Satriani surfing with the alien and not of this earth. And he said, check out this guitar player, Joe Satriani. He's amazing. And he puts the stuff on. I'm listening to Surfing with the Alien, and I was just absolutely blown away. I was just like, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. And this is the kind of music that I want to play. I want to be able to play like Joe, and his passion and the melodies and stuff. I was just so enthralled. And at that moment, I realized that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be able to play like Satriani. And so thus began years and years of practicing and woodshedding to become a better player. You know, I wasn't the guy who was like, you know, chasing girls on recess and stuff like that, or on lunch break, or playing, you know, games. I would go down to the music room, sign out a classical guitar, and I'd be sitting there practicing. And my brother and I actually, it was funny because we ended up becoming legends in our high school, but we didn't realize this until like years after we graduated. Because we played some coffee houses at the high school. You know, we had a band called Deprived Youth. We played a lot of covers, but I also threw in a couple Satriani tunes there, and I was freaking wailing on the guitar. You know, screaming on the whammy bar, and and high harmonics and stuff. And they actually caught that on some of the yearbook videos and played it for the whole class, for the whole school. And people were right up to saying, "Did you see that video, man? Of you wailing out on the guitar, dude? It was amazing." You know, and so like. Yeah, and then we played a coffee house. It was a homegrown show we played, and it was videotaped. It's actually on YouTube now. If you look up Homegrown 91, and you'll see a young Kevin Estrella there playing stuff. But we played a great show, and then 2 years later, I still had a friend from our high school, and he kept saying about, you or your brother are legends. People still talk about the Estrella brothers, and I'm like,
wow.
Really? I had no clue.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we end up, those amazing moments that are spontaneous end up being such a wonderful, highlight of our lives, because it was just like a happening. It wasn't kind of preconceived, it wasn't pre-done, and bang, it just happened. It feels to me like sometimes I'm channeling, which I'm not into channeling, but what I'm saying when I'm tuning more into my higher self and bringing down that energy, and magical things start to happen. I love those moments, especially when you're a musician and things happen out of the blue, and you hop on that flow, and you're in that rhythmic cycle, and then the audience feels it, and then they give it back to you, and you give it back to them, and it becomes like this cycle that you kind of rev up, and then you bringing up the energy higher and higher and higher until people are almost ecstatic, going, I love those moments. I'm very blessed that I've had a life where I've had a lot of those magical moments scattered throughout my life, that it's really, to me, those magical moments where I haven't had to have a control of everything. I think we hang on to the steering wheel way too hard, and I'm going to control everything and everything like that. And once you kind of let go and you let a bit of space in for the natural forces to come in, that's where all those magical moments are. I guess you could put that down to faith, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's like watching a Led Zeppelin concert.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we've got about 2 minutes till the break. What do you want to get into? We'll get into more of your ET stuff after the break. Mm-hmm. And just give us your website, just for the audience here.
Sure, absolutely. You can find everything at pyramidsonmars.com. That's pyramidsonmars.com. It's my website. I have 2 CDs up there, my first CD and my second CD, Echo Cosmic. There's also a link to, I have online instructional guitar videos teaching my style of lead playing, which is very neoclassical influenced, very Yngwie Malmsteen like, Paul Gilbert like, Bach, Vivaldi, a lot of stuff that I've learned from violin, playing the guitar more like a violin and playing very melodically. So you got that. There's also links to all my other magazine interviews with my music, my other interviews with my ET stuff. There's music videos there. There's links to my DNA double helix neck graphics on my guitar through Neck Illusions. I'm a signature artist with them. And the same as actually another signature artist is Steve Vai. Steve Vai, people probably know Steve Vai. He's also a Neck Illusions artist, in addition to Jennifer Batten, who is a guitar player for Michael Jackson. She's a signature. She's a Neck Illusions artist too.
Is that the one with the white hair? And I think she was an Aussie?
I don't know if she's an Aussie, but I know she was with Michael Jackson. She toured with Michael Jackson, Jennifer Batten.
Yeah, I think she had
blonde
like
hair.
this the blonde hair, and she kind
White
of
blonde hair.
Yeah.
She's the only guitar player he had, yeah.
That's right, and she had the kind of all teased up and stuff like that. I have seen her play. She's absolutely amazing. Oh, poor Michael Jackson. I don't even want to get into that debate. I still love him. I grew up with his music, and I still love his music, and I really don't care about what other people say about whether he did this or did that or not. And that other, that big interview that was on, mainstream. I mean, big red flag there, guys. Mainstream media there, and people are always trying to get money while people are already died and they can't defend themselves. So we're going to get more info with Kevin after the break, guys. So stick around.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR.
Frequency Radio.
And we're back from the break. I'm Nikki Colombo, and welcome to the Nikki Colombo Show. And I hope you guys enjoyed that last vocal of mine, because that was me singing, and it's one of the best vocals that I did. So back to Kevin. Sweetheart, tell us about these Sardinia ETs that you talk about in your bio. How did that all come about, and where did they come from? And this is all new to me. Explain to us what happened there.
Oh, sure, I can definitely do. Yeah, first I want to give a shout out to my my good buddy Cale Gillespie in Queensland. Hey, dude, how's it going, man?
Awesome! Woohoo! You've got some Aussie mates over here. That's cool. I hope he's listening to the show. And if he's not listening live, he can listen to the rebroadcast for about a week, and then it goes into subscription. Oh my God, say that with marbles in your mouth, guys. Okay, cool. All right, Kev, take it away.
All right. Okay. Yeah, we're kind of jumping a little bit forward here from.
I know we are, darling. We'll get back to the other bit in a minute, but I just thought, you know what, this is so interesting. Because this is a new race that I've never heard of before, or where they come from.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So it's my friend Cale Gillespie, who I was just talking about, is the one who introduced me to Sandia.
Wow.
and it was basically in a conversation. He said, did you know that there's an actual group of extraterrestrials who are using Twitter? And I'm like, are you serious? Really?
Wow.
They said, yeah. And he said, at Sandia Wisdom. He said, just go there and listen to them talking, and you'll realize that they're real. And get onto at Sandia Wisdom on Twitter, and it says, my name is Tilcum. I'm from the planet Pontel, fifth planet orbiting Zeta Reticuli 2. We are here to teach planetography and prepare you for official first contact. And that's what their Twitter mission is. And when I was first introduced to them, there was 4 of them. There was Tilcum. He's the commander. You have one of his officers. Her name is Druti. And then we have Teeny. And then we have my buddy Radar. So
wow, they're really cool. They're really cool names. It sounds very similar to the Bashar thing that's happening.
They do, yeah.
What's planetography? What's that, Kev?
Archaeoplanetography.
I
will get into that. That's
okay, cool.
Subject on its own.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But so just understand who they are. They are Zetas. They're from Zeta Reticuli. So they're the extraterrestrials that most people are familiar with. They're the short ones with the big heads. So they have gray skin. They have big black eyes, and they've been around for a long time. In fact, they are the guardians of this planet. They've been here for tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 years. They've been here, and they've been here, helping humanity. Now, you have to understand that people, a lot of people talk about alien abductions and Greys doing horrible things to people. Well, you have to understand there's many different types of star nations. I don't call them aliens. That's kind of a racist, rude term. Star nations is more appropriate. That's what the Native Americans have always referred to them as. And there are many different, groups of star nations of Zetas. So you can't all group them into one. However, a lot of these negative abductions that people have reported, or that the mainstream so hounds on to create more fear in the media, those Greys are actually been biologically manufactured here on Earth by not very nice extraterrestrials who are working also with certain military groups.
Yep.
So they are doing harm behind the scenes to give the good Zetas a bad reputation. Okay.
Yeah, look, I've had a MyLab experience, and it was exactly like that. And it took me a while to realize that, because they were trying to trick me into thinking that it was just the Greys, but it wasn't. It was a MyLab abduction, because they left a mark on my body, on my leg, and it was a purple triangle with kind of dotted, which was the scopolamine truth serum. But they'd left a little grey impression just above that mark, waving at me. And I'm thinking it was just the Greys, when in actual fact I had a regression, and I could see that it was both, because what I was looking at was I could see these little Greys down the bottom of my bed in my bedroom, but on top of that image, of that Life movie image, I could see the MyLab where I was actually in like a hospital situation where they were taking my googie eggs for God knows whatever programs that are out there. So I could totally relate to that, but it took me a little while to work out what was going on. I was really pissed off for quite a while, but now I just accept it for what it is, and I can move forward with that. So I'm glad that you brought that up, darling, because there's so much bullshit out there, isn't it? Trying to steer everybody into this fear all the time, and it's like the human race. There's so many different races, here on the planet Earth, and not everyone's good and not everyone's bad. We've got to pull ourselves out of that polarity and get into more of that unity consciousness.
Exactly. It's like, there are different types of, star nations out there, and there are good ones and there's not so good ones. It's like saying, all humans are evil, or all humans are bad. Is that true?
Yeah.
No, there's
exactly
a couple of us who are okay. Just a couple. Yeah, I'm ready to get off this planet, but that's another story in itself.
Oh, I hear that all the time. Everyone keeps telling me the same thing. They're sick of it and they just want to go home. So, I hear it all the time, sweetheart. All the time. So, okay.
Yeah. But the Sandia, the Ponte who I'm working with, you have to understand the difference. These MyLab Greys are actually biological robots. They are programmed. They have chips in them. They're robotically controlled. They do not have a soul. They do not communicate telepathically. You have to understand that telepathy is communicated on an emotional wavelength. Telepathy is the most, it's the only acceptable language for the majority of star nations, because it's communicated on an emotional wavelength. It's not just words, it's also images and sounds and visuals. It's three-dimensional telepathy, and it's
And
also
feelings.
comes with memories and feelings and history. And when you start to understand how deep telepathy is, you understand how primitive our spoken language is, and how it can be so misinterpreted. You know, it's like, me saying, "Hey, Nikki, how you doing today?" And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, "God, I hate you." You know, and it's like in the telepathic world, that's communicated. It's like, what did you just say? You know?
Exactly. And you know what I've discovered, Kevin? It's really like when I try to describe some certain things, I just don't have this human language to describe what I'm actually seeing and feeling and the message that I'm getting, because the human language is so limited. And so I have to compare it to something else and get my feelings over there for people to understand what the bloody hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they say, you're from another world, aren't you? And I go, yeah. And I don't think they realise how much truth there is actually in that saying. They're saying it as a joke, and I'm going, yeah, I know I'm an ET.
Well, I have a great example to explain to people about telepathy, because it was my first telepathic experience with the Ponte. So this happened about maybe 3 or 5 months after following them. And then on my website, I have these T-shirts for sale called ET shirts, and the images on there were drawn by an experiencer by the name of Robert Fullington, who I had as a guest on my radio show, Pyramids of Mars UFO Radio, on the Artist First Network. And when and then this tweet came up from Radar, and it said, "Geez, Kev, we've got to get you some better Zeta models for your T-shirts, because the ones you have are just way too serious and way too scary looking."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
and
so cool.
I'm thinking, I was kind of miffed. I'm like, he's criticizing my T-shirts. And so I tweet back to him and I say, well, oh yeah, well, I've got 4 new models for my next T-shirts. And I was referring to them because if you go on their website, you have to understand that they're not actually doing the tweeting. It's a telepath here on Earth, Sue Walker from Albuquerque. She's the one who does the tweeting for them. And I'll talk about all her, because she and I are really, really close. She's like family to me. And she talks to them telepathic all the time. So she's the one who's actually doing the tweeting on their behalf. So Radar says this, and she actually is also an artist, and so she does portraits. And she drew 4 portraits of, one for Tilcom, one for Judy, one for Radar, and one for Teeny. So I was saying, we can put these images on a T-shirt. That's just the 4 of you. And then Tilcom pops in. This is live on Twitter. This is back and forth, live on Twitter. Tilcom pops up and says, "Yes, I would like you to make a T-shirt of us. That's a wonderful idea." And so I tweet back. I say, "Okay, that's fine. However, here's the catch. I want you guys to come up with the T-shirt caption." And so I'm sitting there thinking, what would be a really good T-shirt caption with the 4 of them on a T-shirt? Oh, of course, just in brackets, "We're here," with an exclamation mark. That would be so cool, because they are here. That would be such a cool T-shirt. Yeah. And I was thinking, I'll bet you Radar is going to be the one who's going to think of the name for the T-shirt. Swear to God, 2 minutes later, this tweet comes up. It was bracket, "We're here," exclamation mark, bracket, with a dash and a happy face, and it said Radar, because they always type their name when whoever's speaking. And I'm going, oh my God, I was just thinking that. How did you do that? Or how did you know? And then this tweet comes back, bracket, with utter look of shock. "You mean, gasp, telepathy works? Who knew?" I'm like, oh my God, did you just? And he said, "Dude, you're easy to read, and dude, get used to it." I couldn't believe it.
Did he call you dude? Was that
dude? Oh, that's how he talks. He talks all the time, dude, or do this and do that. Oh yeah, okay. That's how he talks. And so and they have to understand. Like I live 3,000 miles away from Albuquerque, or maybe 2,000 miles away from Albuquerque. Radar read me telepathically 2,000 miles away, and then he tweeted it live on Twitter. You have to understand how powerful that is.
Yeah.
But it gets even deeper, because a year later I made a comment on Facebook about this, talking about this whole thing, that incident that took place. And then somebody tweeted and said, well, if someone ever telepathically read me, I would find that the greatest invasion of my personal privacy, and I would never stand for that. Never. Absolutely not. That would be complete violation. And then I started thinking about this. I was thinking, wait a second. That means that Radar already knew this before he tweeted. So it just goes to show that not only did he read my mind, but he read into my heart to feel how I would feel about him personally reading me and posting it on Twitter. And he realized that I'd have absolutely no problem. I would be delighted. That's how deep telepathy is.
Wow, that is awesome. Maybe he kind of, maybe he went a little bit into the future and knew the outcome of that, or maybe he just knows the human traits of certain people and their signatures and can pick up on that and probably knew exactly how you were going to react to that.
Well, it's a little deeper than that, because a different experience happened when it was one of my first conscious experiences of their actual physical visit here in my apartment. And what happened with this, and this is another example of telepathy. So I'm lying here on my couch one night. It was sometime early last year, and then I hear two foot land a few feet away from me. I hear this, like this, and I realized, oh my God, they're visiting, and they're allowing me to be awake while it's happening. So
cool.
I'm lying on the couch. I got my eyes closed. I'm conscious, but I'm still slightly dozy in a daze, and I'm pretending to be asleep, and I'm not moving. But actually, I realized months later that the reason I couldn't move was because I was actually paralyzed. So they do this, but it's a safety protocol. And so Peter walks over to me, and he gently puts his right arm under my neck. And then with his left arm, he puts it under my legs, and then he just ever so gently just picks me up off the couch and holds me in his arms, like a baby.
Oh, now, that's beautiful.
Now you have to realize that Peter, he's only like no taller than my 7-year-old, and a very small build. It's like, how did he pick me up? Like I'm not fat, but I'm definitely not light. He had no problem picking me up. Now, when he picked me up, my left arm actually fell, and it actually brushed his arm, and I felt whatever bodysuit he was wearing, it felt like cool dolphin skin.
Oh, really tight and smooth.
Yeah.
Tight and smooth.
Tight, smooth, and cool.
Yeah.
It felt like dolphin skin.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh wow, this is so cool. And then he puts me down, and then I'm looking at him, and I'm so excited, saying, "Are you Radar? Are you Radar?" And then he kind of whispers to me, says, "No, it's Peter." And then as I'm talking to him, he starts to change his appearance. His whole body and his face started to look. At an unconscious level, I kind of recognized what it was. And what it was, because I discovered this like last year when I was putting a presentation together, is I was down in the basement, and I found it was a Halloween costume of a stormtrooper that my kids wore 5 years previously.
Mm-hmm.
So what he had done is he had gone into my memories telepathically, found a pleasant memory, and then started to change his appearance to look like something that I'd be more comfortable with. Can you believe that?
That is so compassionate of him to do that. So he morphed into like a stormtrooper.
Kind of like a stormtrooper, but it was just more like the colors of his face. It was kind of blackish and white and a little bit of gray. And then he's changed his face to look like an old friend from high school, a friend of mine, Drew Carmichael. But he didn't quite get his hair right, because he was bald all the way up and then just had this mohawk on the top. It looked pretty silly. I said, "You almost got him right, but not quite." I said, "You kind of look like." And then just as I was about to say, they would say Drew Carmichael, I'm back on the couch opening my eyes, and he was gone. So it was like missing time right there. So whatever interaction
Did you have any little red dots all over your tummy? Tiny little
No.
pinprick red dots or little white ones?
No, I've never had physical marks like that, but I have had
Okay.
something else that was done, and I'll get into that. It's very important.
I think I've had that, and so have a lot of people I've talked to, and it's got something to do with them changing us into a light body so they can bring us up onto the ships. I'm not quite sure about that, but that seems to be, a common. That's why I ask you, because everyone seems to go, yeah, like hundreds and hundreds of these little, white, red pinprick dots all over, mainly the stomach area and the solar plexus area. There's something going on in the solar plexus area. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's that. Did you laugh your head off when you saw the mohawk?
Oh, I thought it was pretty funny. I was looking at him going, you're not Drew Carmichael, but he definitely got his hair wrong because he doesn't have a mohawk. And I think at that point, that's the reason why he blocked me out, because he realized that he had screwed up. And but the thing is, I realized that it was not a dream, is because I went from conscious state to conscious state on the couch. It was like there was a missing time there. I don't know how long what the missing time was, but I remember talking to him, and the next thing I know, I'm opening my eyes, but I was already awake. So it's like, whoa, talk about missing time. That was definitely missing time.
And did you experience that in between kind of stage where when you're half asleep and half awake, just before you're about to fall asleep, that there must be something in the alpha brain, alpha waves or something like that, where that's where I see them, like, looky-loo, where they just pop in and have a look at me going, hey, how you going? Have you experienced that? That half asleep wake?
I've had many experiences where I'm in that lucid dream state just before you wake up. I've had several experiences during that period of time, and I can get into a couple of those because they are absolutely phenomenal and amazing. They were not dreams, absolutely not dreams. They were more real than real, and I'll get into a couple of those. But getting back to Sandia, and my being introduced to them. I made really good friends especially with Radar, Teeny, and Drudy. Radar and I just kind of became buddy pals, and we would joke around on Twitter and tease each other and stuff like that. We had a great we have a great time. But Drudy and Teeny, they're both girls, and they were very sympathetic to me last year because I was going through a marriage breakdown. And I just mentioned to them in a private tweet talking about how I was feeling, and they just responded back saying, we already know everything that's going on. So I realized that they were already telepathically connected to me, and that was the deepest that any woman's ever been connected to me, And I was just crying. It was like, oh my God, they know me, and they were so kind and so caring. And my interaction with the Ponte, they are more loving than most humans that I know.
That's my experiences with some of these ultra-dimensionals too. They're so beautiful and light and loving and kind. I was very lucky to experience what unconditional love really is like. It was only for, a very small amount of time, but that was enough for me to come back and go, wow, now I've had a really tiny taste of that, but that was enough for me. Now I know what they're all talking about when it comes to unconditional love. I just want, more of that on the earth, I can't, it's like a drug. I want more of it,
I know exactly what you're talking
other people about. To experience that too, but they just can't get their head around it because they've never experienced it. You don't know what you don't know, I guess.
You don't know until you've actually experienced it. I remember, I read stories from other experiencers like Sherry Wild and Susie Hansen talking about being surrounded in this hug of light and this euphoric experience, and you don't want to leave their presence because you feel such surrounded by love. Because what's happening is that you're actually feeling their love, you're feeling their emotions telepathically, and it completely surrounds your entire being and body. And the way I remember experiencing it was last year. I went to the Ozark UFO conference in Arkansas. And so the Sandia gang said they were got permission that they were going to be attending it, and hopefully I'd be able to see them. So I spent the whole time down there keeping an eye out, hoping to be able to see Radar or somebody, or maybe they would pop in while I was sitting down watching the presentations, and they would give me a Zerbert in my ear. They're like because they've done that to Sue Walker while she's been at home. But what happened was, so I don't remember anything consciously when I was down in Ozark. I was really disappointed, and I went home. And then about a week later, all of a sudden, these memories started to come back to me. And then I remember, because I stayed with a friend, and we had this really cool room that we stayed in, which was actually a bedroom, and then it had a party room attached to it. And in the party room, it was like the same size as like a regular hotel room, but it had a love seat, it had a couch, it had a coffee table, and all this kind of stuff. And then I remember being woken up to me sleeping on the couch and Radar jumping up and down at the bottom of the couch going, wake up, it's party time, and then I tweet to them and saying, Radar, I got these memories of you doing this. And then he said, dude, we were placing bets in regards to when you'd get your memories back. Yeah, we partied, yeah, we laughed, and yeah, you snorted tea out your nose. When do you want to do it again? And I was like, snorted tea out my nose? And then when he said that word, that was the trigger word. And boom, like a download, the memory came. And I remember the whole thing. They threw a tea party for me. And the whole thing played out like I saw it. Like it was the most vivid memory of my life. I was sitting on the couch. Radar's across from me, and Tilcom's sitting next to him. Judy's sitting on my left. She had given me a tea. Radar's talking away, and then this voice interrupts him, and it's this deep voice, like it sounded like Leonard Nimoy, like Spock, and it just interrupted him because Radar was talking about he was working on his skippership trying to hot rod it, and something went wrong, and he's running around the hangar bay trying to get the old guy to help him before something blows up. And then this deep voice rings out, goes, Brinkman. And you have to understand, like, telepathy is it's spoken inside your head. It's like a speaker inside your skull. Okay? So yeah. I remember Radar's voice, like his voice, he sounds like Johnny Depp. But then when this voice interrupted, this deep voice, I remember on Twitter, because there's a new guy that joined, his name is Grayson. And he, from other experiencers who have met Grayson, they talked about Grayson having a really deep voice. And so when this deep voice popped out of nowhere, because I couldn't see him because he was actually behind me, I was thinking, Grayson? And then I look behind me, and here he is. He's leaning against the wall. He turns over to me with this grin, like, do I recognize who he is? And then I turn around and I snort tea out my nose like a shotgun, all over Radar. Yeah, and then Rudy's just in shock. Rudy's in shock. Oh my god! And Radar is literally snorting himself off the couch. He's going like this. And if you can imagine seeing a Zeta just snorting away, slipping down the side of a couch.
All right, we're going to take it up after the break, guys. Stick around.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number.
You must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
and welcome to the Nikki Colombo Show. I'm your host, Nikki Colombo, and we're talking to the amazing Kevin Estrella. And honestly, Kevin, I really hope that the microphone muted just then, because I just snorted with laughter. That's one of the best stories I have heard. It's an absolute classic that's going to go on a book or a video or something out there. Especially, him jumping up and down on the bed like little kids, and
Oh yeah. They're like kids. They honestly, they're like kids.
Oh, that is so cool. I'm so happy that you shared that with us, and I hope that really balances out all the negative stuff out there, guys, that are listening, because so many people have had, very frightening experiences, but a lot of my friends have all come to a new understanding of there's just no fear anymore with those experiences. They've seemed to have transmuted the first time that they see something that is so different or off-world, and now they've come to a really great understanding and gone through some tools and techniques and learned how to deal and navigate through these energies now. So thank you so much for sharing
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome.
That's a bloody classic. Okay. All right, where do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to finish the story.
Great.
So here it is. I just, Grayson interrupted his deep voice, Brinkman. And the reason why I said Brinkman is because it was an inside joke between he and I. He was referring to Radar's brinkmanship of his flying. Right. He's always operating on just on the borderline of being, destructive. So anyway, here he is. We both get our composition back, right? He's finished, like, laughing. I'm sitting there, staring at him. And then he turns to me and he says, after I snorted tea all over him, I was so embarrassed. He says, "You know what? I've never seen one of you do that before. That's so cool." I'm like, so cool. And he laughed all over again. Everybody's just hilarious. We're all on the floor laughing. You have to understand, one of the things they love the most is laughing to the point of tears, being absolutely overjoyed. It's like a drug for them. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized also, because the entire time this is happening, they surrounded me in this hug of light. I felt their emotions telepathically. My whole chest was full of nothing but absolute love and joy and pure unconditional love. And I was surrounded my whole body. I didn't want to ever leave that being with them. It was like, it must have been, this must be what it must be like to die, because it was so beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Or live on another planet where you're constantly surrounded and encompassed with that beautiful unconditional love, which is probably why so many of us say, look, we're sick of this horribleness on the world and we want to go back to that. That must be the yearning for our soul crying out, or to bring those beautiful energies down into the earth to give it more balance. I think that we are acupressure points as starseeds all over the world, which ripples out that energy, even though a lot of us haven't completely felt that, but a lot of us know that it's there. And we try and bring that divinity down into us. A lot of people say, we're ascending. Okay, our consciousness might be ascending up, but we're actually bringing our divinity into our bodies like acupressure points, which ripple out. And that's why a lot of starseeds move around a lot, We're not kind of stuck in one place. We seem to be, kept secret for quite a long time until, I think it was about 2007 that we kind of all burst out and kind of realized, hey, what's going on here? And we've come to a lot of conclusions about that. So that's how I kind of feel. I look at it, and we're acupressure points rippling out that beautiful love to balance out all the negative stuff there. And joy and laughter, just like the Buddha is always perceived as, and drawn as laughter. And I find a lot of really fantastic speakers who laugh a lot. I can tell that they're really, they've let go of the ego, and it doesn't matter what happens, they can turn it and transmute it, and they giggle about it now. I totally love that. I totally get it.
I find with myself, the closest that I come to that experience being with the Ponte is through my music, when I'm playing, passionately, and I play at such a high levels of passion that I'm playing telepathically. And this is what the Ponte have been teaching me for the last year. And And that's where I've been reaching these even higher states of ecstasy, of telepathic communication, where you actually tap into the collective consciousness and you actually get this vortex ripple effect that's coming through your pineal gland all the way through your body, and it goes out and extends into space. I've actually reached those levels of ecstasy where you hit this you feel this spinning vortex of so much passion.
It's like a zone. It's like being in the zone.
It's almost like losing consciousness, actually. It's almost hard to stay in that focus because it's so intense. It's so intense. Yeah.
I've been there, sweetie. I know how you feel. I know those feelings of total ecstasy, energized, a combination of bliss and ecstasy and joy and everything kind of all mixed up in together. And it just encompasses, and it ripples out to the audience, and they ripple it back to you, and it becomes this beautiful cyclic vortex that we create, which lifts people up and lifts up their spirits for the night, and if I can give that kind of joy to people for, a moment in their miserable lives, then, hey, I've fulfilled my purpose here. That's how I feel.
That's the way I look at it too. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you want to take it from here? Do you want to pick up from where I interrupted you about an hour?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of finish that story with the Mad Tea Party. So, so basically after, Rid tells me, I never seen any of you do that before. That's so cool. We're all laughing ourselves silly. And then I finally come back up to, and I'm covered in tea and I snorted all over myself. And I'm sitting there looking, staring at him with this beautiful smile on my face. And I'm thinking, I can't let him have the last laugh. And so then I turned to him and I said, yeah, well, you're the first ET I've, heard snort before. So I guess we're even. And then he starts laughing and I'm laughing. And it was just this huge, it was incredible. Just incredible being with them. I love being with them. They've been working with me for the last year. Teeny has been an absolutely amazing teacher. She's always taken me, once I reach a certain level, she's already got my hand and she's taken me even deeper down the rabbit hole, because it's like she already has seen me in the future and she knows my potential and she's guiding me more and more and deeper into this. And that's where
she's keeping you aligned to your original mission here.
Exactly. It's like they know my mission better than I do. And what they're doing is they're tweaking me so I can become the absolute maximum performance of why it is that I came into this timeline, why I agreed to this timeline. So
yeah, that's the feeling I get too, because I know that they're not allowed to come in and take impose on free will, so they have to do it in a suggestive guide kind of way.
Exactly.
And then you make the decision, but they'll give you, like a prompt inside you to, where you come to a crossroads. Do I go this way or do I go that way? I'm making a decision, but they kind of prompt you in a suggestive kind of way. And that's how I teach. I do spiritual consultations online for people who are just waking up, and that's how I teach. I teach with suggestions, because I think that if you push your will on someone, they go the other way. It's natural for us to rebel.
Yeah, it has to come from within inside.
Yes.
And that's why, a year and a half ago, through a private Twitter conversation I had with Teeny, she just made this one casual comment. She says, you understand that music can be communicated telepathically, right? And I was just like, no, I didn't know this. And she said, yes. She said, when you reach higher states of consciousness, you can communicate your music at a telepathic level. Not only that, but you can communicate your music through visuals in a timeless loop of visuals that will actually be recorded on the digital recording. And you can capture telepathy in the recordings. And wow. I asked her, can you teach me this? Can you teach me how to play my guitar telepathically? And she said, yes. And so what happened was, it was back in about March of last year, I got a message from Sue Walker. She said, you are on the schedule for a visitation. You will know that you have been visited because there will be something in your apartment that's out of place. I'm like, okay. And so 2 weeks later, it was a Wednesday night. Wednesday night seemed to be the night they come and visit me. It's a regular for me, a weekly regular Trust me on that. They come every week.
Mhm.
And so I wake up one morning and I hear noises down in my apartment. I look down. I couldn't see anything, and I go back to sleep. A couple hours later, I'm awoken to the feeling of liquid draining out of my left ear.
Oh, yeah, I've
Water
had that.
draining out of my left ear. You have?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, a
Wow.
lot of people have. If you ask Greg Prescott from In5D, he talks about that all the time. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I
yeah.
know what happened. I'm not sure if you know what happened, but I know what happened.
Tell
So
us.
what
I'm
what it
hanging,
was?
sweetheart.
Okay, you got to hear this. So I woke up to the feeling of water draining out of my left ear, like it would be like if you went swimming and you had water behind your ear, but I didn't go swimming. So it was really annoying, and I rub in my ear and I go, and I fall back asleep, wake up, go to work the next day, and come back home. As I'm walking over to my computer, I happen to notice on my shelf I have this little guitar, this little wooden guitar player, dude, and he's facing the wall. And I stop and look at it and go, I didn't face him towards the wall. Was I drunk last night and dropped him and put him back on the... No, I wasn't drinking last night. And I'm thinking, oh my God, did they visit? And so I go onto Twitter and I tweet to Drudy and I say, hey, Drudy, did you guys visit? Because this guy's out of place. And the tweet comes back saying, a message just came from one of the trainees. They thought that he was strangely curious. Their apologies for not putting him back properly. I was just like, oh my God, they were here.
Yeah.
I was just freaking out. And then my friend Kale, who over there in Queensland, he messaged me and says, I was just visited by Judy last night, and she was waiting for me to go to sleep because they had to perform a procedure, but something about removing black goo. And I'm like,
Oh.
what? And then all of a sudden it kicked in. Oh my God! I ran up my stairs, went to my pillowcase, and there in my pillowcase, right where my ear was, is this little reddish brown stain on my pillowcase.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh my God! And then I told him, I said I had liquid drain out of my left ear, and then he said, oh yes, thank you for reminding me about that. That's the end of the procedure. The last part that comes out will come out of your left ear after it's traveled through your head. I'm like, you too? And he said, yeah. And so what happened then was over the period of 7 days, I had this cleansing that was going on inside my body. It was like after I would urinate and it would be absolutely putrid and horrible. It was like it smelled like ammonia. It would smell like chemicals and metal and all kinds of stuff. And this lasted for 7 days. My ears were sensitive for 7 days. But at the seventh day, my consciousness completely cleared up. I was accessing parts of my brain that I had never accessed before. I never realized how poisoned whatever it is that they put in our food and into our water, the fluoride that they put in our water to calcify our
Heavy
pineal
metals.
gland,
Yeah.
the heavy metals. They purposely put the stuff in our mind to basically turn us into walking zombies. 99% of the human population are walking zombies because their minds have been so completely clouded with all this stuff that they can no longer access higher areas of their brain, access their pineal gland, access their higher self. So this procedure was repeated again a month later because I have 2 stains on my pillow. And then after that, I have a constant connection to the collective consciousness. My consciousness is always turned on. I'm able to focus my concentration on any part of my brain and be able to basically squeeze pressure into that area and focus concentration. They also did a procedure. The heaviest one was when they did something to my brainstem. And they apologized for that. They say it's going to take a couple days for you to recover from that one. And it felt like being hit by with a phaser on stun. It was horrible. I was out of it for several days.
Wow.
But they've done this. They've done several upgrades in consciousness to me, and I know when they have because my mind keeps getting more and more expanded. But this was also
I had that twice too. You know, when you said you had the leaky ear again, is that the black goo? Is that AI?
I have read about it from some other people. Actually, when I was at a presentation in Sedona, Geraldine Orzoko, she talks about this.
I had her on last week. Yeah, I had her on last week. She's gorgeous. What a beautiful woman. Yeah.
Yeah, talk to her about AI. Or talk about black goo. It's some kind of artificial intelligence black.
I thought so.
Yeah, and I think what they've done is they weaponized it.
I think it's the same stuff that's in the Matrix. You know, when Dr. Smith, I'm not Dr. Smith, Mr. Smith duplicates himself and the black goo goes everywhere. I think it's an artificial intelligence that's not supposed to be there.
It could be. It could very well be.
Yeah.
So they were removing this stuff because there's so much mind control that they've done.
Yeah.
They've done such a great job to control the population. It goes all the way into not just making people believe that fluoride's good for your teeth, but no, it's to actually reduce your IQ and to calcify your brain with aluminum, which is what fluoride is. So if you like taking aluminum and putting it in your brain, that's exactly what fluoride is doing.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on with the mind control stuff that's going on. But they cleared the stuff out, and now they've been working with me with giving me downloads. And the biggest one and the most important one that I got, at least for me, there's a new girl who came to the Sandia complex about a year and a half ago, and her name's Thera, and she has her specialty is she is a expert in the tonal language of the cetaceans, of the whales and the dolphins.
Oh, now I've heard that whales and dolphins have more than one consciousness.
Well, they have a very complex telepathic tonal language. They speak a tonal language, a language of tones. It's very complex, and it's telepathic. The whales communicate. They actually sing songs in telepathic visual images, and apparently their songs are known throughout the galaxies.
Do you know what? That you've just triggered me off. Some of the feline races, when they communicate to you, they don't talk like the way I'm talking to you now. They'll talk like this and sing to you while they're talking. Like kind of ancestral, kind of celestial kind of music.
Okay. Yeah.
And the way that they communicate with you. And I thought, wow, that is so beautiful. Can you imagine listening to all of them talk to you for a while? It'd be like being in a big orchestra in a place where all the harmonics in the dome or wherever you're in would be all harmonic and beautiful and like, oh my God, you just wouldn't want to leave. Now that's very similar to what you talked about with the dolphins, but in a different way. Oh my God, this is really freaking me out. I'm glad I tied that knot. That is amazing. Okay.
Yeah. And
wow.
So I asked Thera, can you teach me this? Can you teach me the tonal language of the whales? And she said yes. And so what happened was back in April, I received a massive download. And I know when I get a download because I have very similar symptoms. First of all, I know when they come and visit me because I wake up with sand in my bed. The sand will only be underneath where I'm lying, but there'll be sand in my bed, and so that's like I know that they've come pick me up. I now have I collect all the sand. I collect it into a pile, and then I use Scotch tape and I tape it all up and then seal it and date it. I have probably now to date probably about 3 to 4 dozen samples from visitations.
Wow. They're ramping up, aren't they?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount. And so, and the symptom of a download is that by about 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm so exhausted, my brain feels like I need to go into, I can only quote it as a reboot nap.
Yeah.
Feels like you want to just drop into unconsciousness and then stay like that for several hours as your brain is being basically, literally, neurologically rewired. It's actually physical changes going on in your brain as the information that they've given you is rewiring your brain. And this is scientifically been proven. They know that the brain is not static, that the brain does rewire itself through your thoughts, through your own processes, how you develop, how you evolve. And that's how people end up becoming more specialists in certain things or other things. It's because we actually wire our own brains through our thoughts. through a download, it does the same thing. And so they gave me this whale download. And they then gave me instructions in regards to how to access this tonal language download. They told Thera and both Teeny told me, take your guitar, go down to Lake Ontario, just an hour before sunset, and then as the elements of the water and the fire, meaning the sunset, when these elements are mixing together, you will start to your music will start to play, and the length of the notes, the ripple effect, and the timing, you will start to process download this whale language. So I didn't have too much time to do that over the summertime. However, what happened was something absolutely incredible happened about 2 weeks before last Christmas. How much time do we have before break?
4 minutes, darling.
4 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So what happened was I was working on a new song. It's called Nahwafen, and there's a melody that I was writing for this song. And it was a very particular melody that I felt was coming through me, through the collective consciousness. And I kept playing this melody over and over and over, along with the music, until it was absolutely perfect with what I felt was coming through. And then I recorded it. 20 minutes later, after recording this melody, I get a message from Sue. She said, I just got a message from Teeny and Thera. They said, whatever you were just experimenting with the tone, the ripple effect, the length of notes, everything, you got it. You accessed the whale download, the tonal language.
Oh, wow.
Can
we hear that? Have you got that? Sorry to jump in, darling. Have you got that recorded so we can hear it somewhere?
I do. I would email it to you.
Oh, darling, please. I'd love to listen to it. Is it for the audience too? Have you got it on somewhere that the audience can hear it too, or is it exclusively for me?
No. I can. Or if I emailed it to you, would you be able to play it, or should I just play it through the speakers?
Well, yeah. Can you play it through the speakers after the break?
Yes, I can.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool.
I'll play the song because here's the part
email
about the
it to
song.
me as well, darling, because I'll send it to a couple other people because I'm sure they would be really interested in some of my other stuff. See, friends would love to hear something like that. It's so unique and exclusive and beautiful, and oh my God, I can't wait.
Well, here's the thing that's important about what happened here. It's not just the melody of what I played recording when I recorded it, because here's the deeper part to it. After I finished writing the final song, I was listening back to the recording, and then all of a sudden I had a sudden knowing, and I heard a translation. I was actually speaking and saying, "Do you hear me?" in a tonal language. The melody I was playing was actually speaking a tonal language, and I was saying, "Do you hear me?"
Oh.
I burst into tears. I knew right away that it was true. I messaged to Sue and I said, I'm actually speaking something. I'm saying, do you hear me? And then she said, I'm hearing cheering coming from the Sandia Mountains. They're sending the message back to the aquatic stations. Whatever you did, you're correct.
Oh my God.
Music is a language, literally a language.
Oh my God.
That is the secret. And the whales speak it.
Oh my God, what a beautiful story. I'm going to have to get some tissues in the break and have a bit of a cry. That is so touching and so beautiful and so, oh my God, how unique is that?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely blown away. Yeah, I'm totally blown away.
I couldn't believe it either. It was the most incredible experience of my life.
Oh my God. You're going to have that, you're going to take that into the next life and back to whatever planet that you're originally from. What a beautiful experience. I am so glad that you shared that with us. And then on the flip side of that, there are other, people out there that hurt our whales and dolphins, And so, I think if, more people knew about that, then they would have second thoughts, and maybe the movement of stop killing the whales would, really kick off, and there'd be some money behind it,
And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to be an ambassador for the whales.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Well, anything that I can help you with the radio show or anything like that, with promotions or anything like that, when you're ready to launch that, just let me know, and I'll definitely love to contribute to something like that. That would be absolutely exquisite. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Okay, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, guys. Okay, we've got about 30 seconds until the break, guys. I think we're going to get into Sue Walker next on the next after the break. Kevin, is that right?
Sure.
Cool, awesome. Okay, I'm Nikki Colombo, and stick around for the Nikki Colombo show. And we're talking with the beautiful Kevin and Strella. Oh my God, what a bloody awesome story! Stick around, guys, and we will be back really soon. The last half of the show.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
And we are back. I'm your host, Nikki Colombo. Welcome to the Nikki Colombo Show. What an amazing story that Kevin shared with us just before the break. And I just want to quickly just have a little talk about my experiences with dolphins, because I lived on the Gold Coast for about 30 years. And when I went to SeaWorld, the first time I swam with the dolphins, this dolphin came up to me and I looked straight into his eyes, and it felt like he had pulled me into a universe. It was one of the most prophetic, profound kind of experiences. I'll never forget it. It was like there was a connection there. I know the dolphins are on Sirius B. I feel I have a strong Sirius connection, being a Leo and lions and the Sphinx and everything like that, and Sirius. And honestly, this beautiful dolphin, this amazing experience, I looked straight into his eyes, and it felt like my consciousness had dived straight through into his eyes, and I was in another beautiful, wonderful universe. And so that was my experience with the dolphin. So, Kev, are you there?
I sure am.
Oh, lovely. Okay, cool. All right. Are we going to have a listen?
We're gonna have a listen. I'm gonna play you a part of the song called Naf Waffen, and what I want you to listen for is the melody. And the melody sounds like na 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 na. Okay? Listen for that melody, because that is a tonal language, and what it's actually saying is, "Do you hear me?" Okay, ready for this?
Yep.
Here we go. Is this loud enough?
Can you turn up a bit? Wow. That was truly amazing. I can't wait to play that on my stereo at home. That was just exquisite. It does. I can hear like dolphins, whales singing, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're singing to your it's like they're adding to what you. I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah, they're communicating through my guitar. Yeah.
They're communicating through. They're communicating through the guitar.
Yeah, it's a tonal language. That
is absolutely a tonal language. That's just like the felines. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I mean, that's so exquisite and unique. Guys, how about that? How cool is that? Nobody has ever heard anything so unique out there.
I don't think anybody's ever done this.
I don't think so either. That's just totally awesome. Thank you so much for that. Okay, cool. Okay, well, we've got about 19 minutes left until the break. Do you want to get into the Sue Walker?
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about Sue Walker. We're going to talk about Sandia. And we're going to talk about how you can have contact with extraterrestrials, with star nations. I'm going to tell you how to do it.
Awesome. Right. Take it away.
Jeez, guys. I'm giving you guys like the best show.
You sure are.
Giving you guys I bet you weren't expecting this.
I wasn't.
Yeah. I should be charging. You should be charging admission.
I found you on Misha Johnson actually suggested you.
Oh, she's amazing. She's we're good friends, and I saw her. I actually was with her last week at the
MegaCon.
Yeah, or actually Beyond the Matrix. I was with her at Beyond the Matrix. So
yeah, she is awesome. She did my regression for me.
Okay. Yeah, she's amazing.
She sure is. She. I tell you what, she brought my level of consciousness all about the star nations up to the stratosphere. I went bang. Once I got on the Starseed Awakening group, I'm like, oh my God, because I kept saying, like, the ships are showing themselves to me. The ships are showing themselves to me, and she goes, you need to come on my group, and bang, it was like whoop, straight up to the stratosphere, and bang, another level of research that I went on my journey. And oh boy, that was about 8 years ago now. Yeah, she is totally amazing. I've had her on my show. I love her.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, so talking about Sue Walker and Sandia, the reason how she discovered them was all completely by accident. She had just met Otter, who's her husband now. She was down in Albuquerque, Mexico, visiting him, and they were watching, I think it was The Voice or something like that on TV, and they were just talking about, they thought that one person should win, and all of a sudden this voice just pops out of nowhere. It was Tilcom saying, "Oh yes, I think that person should win." And they're like, they both did this turn towards the mountain because that's where the voice came from. They're like, who the heck was that? And so Tilcom, over several weeks, started to kind of just pop in every once in a while in their conversations and make comments. And so they eventually started to get to talk to him. They had to give him a nickname. So since the Sandia Mountains, they just called him Sandia.
Mm-hmm.
And Sue didn't know that Sandia actually means watermelon in Spanish, because the Sandia Mountain has these colors of green and stuff like that. It makes it look almost like a watermelon. Mm-hmm. And when she gave him that nickname, he piped up and said, "Oh, watermelon head, that's perfect." So they're like thinking, okay, now I got to find out who this guy is. And that's when he introduced himself, and then eventually he introduced himself to his crew, to Rudy and to Teeny and Radar. And for the last 5 years, Sue and Otter have been working full-time with the Ponte. They work every day, day and night literally now, working for the Ponte, helping, prepare humanity for official first contact. Sue does, she still does the tweets for them, but she does a lot of radio interviews now, and she does a lot of portraits. She does a lot of extraterrestrial Star Nation portraits. Particularly, she's doing a lot of Sasquatch portraits these days. Mm-hmm. We're actually, all of us, her, myself, and my friend Kale from Queensland, we're all going to be attending the Psychic Sasquatch Convention up in Washington State at the end of the beginning of September of this year. So that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, there's a connection there between the Sasquatch and the Ponte, because Radar, when he's off hours, off duty, he actually goes and he hangs out. His best buddy is Kie, who's a 15-year-old Sasquatch, and they go hang out together and do stuff.
Wow, I've heard they're really psychic too.
Sasquatch are psychic.
Yeah.
They are psychic. They're telepathic. They communicate telepathically, but they can also be interdimensional. So they can be in the physical form, but they can basically, it's like opening a door for them, and they can step right into another dimensional walkway and be hidden there. And I have actually had personal experiences with the Sasquatch. In fact, I had a Sasquatch visit me right here in my apartment 6 weeks ago. Interdimensionally.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
No wonder they can't catch them, and I'm glad they can't catch them.
No, they're the elusive Sasquatch, the best hide and seekers ever. And they, when somebody's in their territory, they'll telepathically ping them and figure out whether they're right-minded or wrong-minded, whether they're a threat or not. And if you're a threat, then you should be very careful, especially if there are children around or their families around. They will be protective. So those are things to be cautious of,
Cool.
But they protect themselves, but there's at least 6 nations of Sasquatch. But getting back to Sue Walker, she's been working with the Ponte for a long time. They pick Sue and Otter up too, and they're taken as well. But they get a lot of information from the Ponte. They do all their tweets. There's 5 years of history of tweets available at their website. Their main website is officialfirstcontact.com. And if you want to have contact with an with the Ponte or with another Star Nation, go to their website, officialfirstcontact.com, and download the free Telepathy 101 primer. It's available in about 20 different languages, and it's an easy read. It's very easy read. Practice it, practice, and practice. If you practice for about 30 minutes a day for about 100 days, you're going to have contact. and they have tons and tons of testimonials from their Twitter followers all over the world, everywhere from Switzerland to Japan to Australia to Canada, everywhere of their Twitter followers who have practiced telepathy primer and have had contact. Their contact could be a ship all of a sudden showing up and then just flashing at them, blinking. Other people, their telepathy is good. They will actually hear them telepathically. Some of them, a lot of people get visits. You know, the Ponte they'll leave hints. You know, they've left hints in my apartment all the time. I have they've left handprints, like 4-fingered handprints. They like to play with an obelisk crystal that I have on my desk. Sometimes that'll be misplaced. They've returned things to me that were missing. And I have I got another smaller 4-fingered handprint on my balcony banister next to my bed. What else have they done? Oh yeah, one time I was actually sitting here on my couch talking to somebody on the phone when all of a sudden on my shelf I have a speaker where that little guitar player I told you about, all of a sudden the speaker went flying off the wall. It was like somebody had accidentally pushed on the speaker cord, and it just ripped everything off that wall, and the speaker went flying on the floor, and the guitar player went flying across the floor. Wow. I do not have ghosts in my apartment. Somebody was one of the new trainees. Sometimes they're a bit clumsy. He leaned in too far, and he knocked everything off the couch. And apparently he got talked to later on about it. But yeah, I have visitors in my apartment all the time. Sometimes I'll be playing my PS4, my PlayStation 4, and I'll be in a scrimmage, and all of a sudden somebody's kicking the back of my couch. You know? Like, okay, do you want to play? Here's a controller. If you want to, give you missing time, here, you play. Okay, it's all the time. All the time they come here and they visit. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I've experienced the same thing, darling. I'm just looking up is it official?
Official first contact.
Official first contact. Hang on. Official first contact.com. Just checking it out. Okay, officialfirstcontact.com. It's not coming up. Anyway, try and send me the link in Skype, sweetie, so I can check it out.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be spelling it. Oh, okay, that doesnn't help, Nikki, when you've got 3 F's in there. Okay, have a look. Here we go. Okay, is that it? No, it's not coming up. Anyway, send me the link anyway, sweetie. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. I should get Sue on the show, actually. She sounds like a really interesting person to talk to.
Sue is amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
She is so knowledgeable. Like, you have to understand that she isn't just somebody off the street. She's a professional telepath. She's been doing this for like 23 years. Wow. She's worked with several three-letter agencies who she's helped with murder investigations and missing persons. So wow. She does this professionally.
Oh, that's awesome. I've got to get her on the show. Would you put in a good word for me, darling?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I will.
That would be fantastic. She sounds absolutely amazing. Isn't it amazing how, the concept of actually the Star Nations and the ETs actually listening and reading on what we're talking about and what we're into online?
Yeah. The whole Twitter thing was a complete experiment, and it went better than they ever expected. They didn't know what to expect with it, and now they're up to 7,000 Twitter followers. They have learned so much about Earth culture. They're as much as curious about us as we are about them. They love to learn from us, and they love to teach. And that's why I keep asking, can you teach me this? Can you teach me this? And that's why Teeny is spending so much time with me to develop my telepathic communication on the guitar and to teach me the telepathy, the tonal language, the whales. I received another assignment 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is a crazy one. Okay, because they read me telepathically, they already know what my greatest passions are. So I make it it's no secret that my favorite composer is Johann Sebastian Bach, the Baroque composer. And my ultimate goal is to be able to write a fugue. Now, to understand what a fugue is, basically, it's like a melody that will start playing, a very long melody, and then by one instrument, and then after the melody is done playing, another instrument will jump in and start playing that melody, and then the instrument that was playing the melody before will start playing a counter melody to that one. And then it'll layer it up like 4 or 5 times. Very complex music to play. And so I got this download, and Teeny said, "You've been successful in translating one whale. Next is 3 in the unison, speaking as a pod, and they're singing a song, and they're sharing. They're all sharing a merging of their stories. You were to translate this and work it into a song.
Oh my
Essentially,
God.
it's a Bach fugue in tonal language of the whales."
Oh boy, get your head around that, guys.
No frickin' way. No, like I said, are you frickin' crazy? I said, are you effing crazy? And she said, be careful what you ask for. You may get it. I said, okay, they know that I want to write a fugue, but a whale fugue?
Wow. Thank God you had the clearing of your head and everything, that you activated that level of your brain where you can actually do that. You wouldn't have been able to do that before.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago they gave me this download. Apparently, all they were doing was expanding my mind, so I'm able to translate and hold more information for longer periods of time, so that I can handle the whale download when it comes.
And it makes you.
Like,
this is crazy stuff. But the thing is that it makes you really super focused, doesn't it?
It's absolutely nuts. I visualize seeing radar taking a whale's brain, and he's trying to jump up and down to fit it inside my head, because that's honestly what it felt like.
Yeah. Well, you've got the brain capacity now because you've got all the heavy metals and everything and all the AI goo, AI goo out of your head
removed,
to accommodate that, so you can be a better communicator on a multi-dimensional, complex level. And I'm finding this happening with a lot of people where there's more light coming into their head, but the thing is that you've got to get rid of the crap. That's what I find that, well, that's what when I try to explain to people what ascension, like people say, what do you do again? I was like, well, I'm an ascension guide. Oh, well, what's that? Oh, I just say in simplistic terms, well, ascension really is about clearing all your emotional garbage out so that you can make more room for light to come into your body and open up those DNA, those codes that are already there lying dormant to activate, so you can have a wider consciousness, so you can be a better communicator, especially with all the bullshit that's going out today. There really is a need for people like us that can be effective communicators, so that we can just balance the scales a bit, because it's just crazy out there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. They're dumbing people down more purposely. They've already added all the stuff to people's foods, but they're also using the media to feed fear plus negative information to make people do crazy things and try and self-destruct, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the main missions for us Starseeds, Lightworkers, Indigos, is to balance the scales, because there's so much crap going on. And when you come up with these fantastic other ways to communicate through music and tonal sounds and the beautiful whales giving that to you, I mean, holy hell, honey, you struck gold.
Yeah. All because I asked. It's all because I asked. They respected my free will, and I asked, can you teach me how to play my guitar telepathically, and can you teach me the tonal language of the whales? And they said yes. Yeah. And I have been a student ever since then, and I listen very intently to everything that they say. I write everything down, and I study.
Yeah, you put the work into it like most of us do. We have such a passion for all of that. Okay, we've got about 2 minutes left. Do you want to give us your other websites, Kevin?
Yes, yeah. The best place to go to find me is at pyramidsonmars.com. Once again,
I love that name, by the way.
On Mars. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. pyramidsonmars.com. There's links there to follow me on Twitter and follow me on Facebook. Yeah, if you follow me on Facebook, that's where we can have some really good conversations, and you can even ask me questions and stuff, which is great. Please also check out my music at my website. I have 2 CDs available there, in digital download or physical CD as well. All my music's there. And also, check out my radio show too at on artistfirst.com, the network there. I interview hybrids. I interview people from the secret space program. I interview experiencers. I've done about 24 shows now. So,
wow.
It's going great. It's going really good.
And your music website, sweetie, what's your address for that?
Pyramids.
Oh, that's your music one. Okay, cool. Okay.
Everything is there. Everything is there. Pyramidsonmars.com.
And when's your radio show on?
It's live the first Tuesday of every month.
And what time?
It'll be 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, all the podcasts are available at any point to download. All podcasts, just go there, click on the date of the interview, and you'll get the podcast.
Oh, that's awesome. When did you start your radio show?
About 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was offered a show on the radio network, and I thought, oh my God, this is a perfect opportunity to to raise consciousness, and so that's what I took it upon to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me, because I was having a whinge about why I'm so shadow banned on Facebook, and Chris Gio said, do you want to come on the show, thinking, oh, do you want me to come on as a guest? And it wasn't until halfway down the messages I realised he was saying, do you want to come on as a host? And I'm going, woohoo, yes, of course I do. Oh my God, what an amazing way to, communicate all the information, because a lot of us sit here saying, okay, well, what do I do with all this information? Well, we've got to get it out there so we can balance the scale. So I just want to thank Kevin. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, sweetie. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much for sharing your music with us. I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. This has been an awesome show.
It has. I'm glad you hung out for the extra half an hour, sweetie, and we did the music thing and everything. Thank you so much, darling. Love you, and we'll talk soon, and keep in touch. And for my audience, we will see you next week. Good night, guys.